to our show, Fresh Geek Context. This is a podcast where we routinely discuss insightful views on a bi-weekly basis over the incredibly nerdy things we can't stop talking about. To take you on this dorky ride are your hosts, Josh.
Hey, everyone.
And myself, Chase. So why don't you take a seat, sit back, relax. We're here to do all the heavy lifting. It's about to get nerdy. This is episode 5.
There's too much. Halloween Part 3, the trailers, something.
Yeah. There's some serious catching up for us to do. For those listening out there, we've posted quite a few articles over at freshgeekcontext.com.
Trailers, and more trailers.
Yeah, there was a funny recap of Walking Dead by John Cleese.
And the official trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy 2 dropped on the 19th, too.
And then a gaggle of trailers the day after that.
Gaggle? What are we talking about, geese?
Possibly, but really, the 20th was a fun-filled day for the internet. The Wolverine 3 trailer dropped, which is also called Logan, and as well as the Red Dead Redemption 2 trailer, which is coming out in fall 2017, I believe. And
pick me, please.
There's no one else here.
Just pick me, though.
Josh?
And the Nintendo Switch was announced.
Honestly.
And that's what happened for the week. That's why we're here.
Okay.
While we were away.
Okay. All right. So we've mentioned this before and to each other, actually, and on the website. We should probably upgrade to...
Hey. Not yet.
Oh, right. Yeah. Wink. Okay,
yes, wink.
Yes. So more news on that later. So let's get right into this, shall we? After our fun interview with Bob Kiefer in episode 4...
There's anything wrong with that. I think anybody should be able to do it.
I think that a lot of people have been able to kind of get in on any gauge.
Yeah, and a lot of the people that I know who are my age have been doing it for 20 years.
Wow.
Maybe even longer.
We were blessed with a quick 2-minute recap from The Walking Dead from the hilarious John Cleese. Pretty much all 6 seasons were recounted in that.
And if you're not in the know, John Cleese belongs to a very funny comedy troupe, the Monty Python. They're British, and they're pretty hilarious, because, anything British is pretty funny to me.
This is true. Yeah, pure genius that was. I didn't think that The Walking Dead could be recapped so eloquently, with rules no less, because you watched that video, Josh, right?
Oh, yeah, it was hilarious.
The 4 rules, I don't think there's anything more poignant than those 4 rules. Like I said, for anybody that's listening, please go over to Fresh Geek Context. We'll have a link in the description going right to that trailer. It's great, guys. And in the second half of the show, we will actually be talking more about scary movies, but also the season premiere of The Walking Dead with non-spoilers and spoilers.
And then the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes. So, yeah. But let's talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, because that was the next trailer that came after the Walking Dead recap.
Yep.
I was super excited. I know you were really excited for Mortal Kombat. I'm sorry. Why am I saying Mortal Kombat? I know you were really excited for the Power Rangers. Power Rangers was interesting to me. It was not... it was interesting to me. I really wasn't excited. I feel like you were more excited than I was. Am I correct?
I might have yelled a little bit out of excitement from it every once in a while. So, yeah, you could say that.
Okay. For me, Guardians of the Galaxy pretty much had me at the edge of my seat. The musical score for that, I Can't Fight This Feeling, that was, it was so good. It's the sleeper hit of 2014. What else could they have done wrong then? That was the time where they jumped the shark.
You have a movie with a talking raccoon and a giant tree as best friends. At this point, Marvel can put out whatever the heck they want. And I'm like, yeah, I'll go watch that, sure.
But now he's a little tree. He's a little tiny twig.
He's a little baby Groot. It's so cute.
I love that. Oh, it's just going to be so good.
Did you catch in the poster, actually, everybody's lined up in the poster, like an album cover style, and then you have little baby Groot right at the bottom of Star-Lord's foot. It's so cute. I love it.
Wait, I'm looking this up right now. Hold on.
Are you serious? You didn't see that?
No, shut up. Don't say anything.
What? So cute.
I posted it. I didn't actually look at the trailer. I was in a rush.
Well, not the trailer, the poster.
I know the poster. Hold on. Ah, there he is. is!
Live reaction of Jace finding out that little baby Groot is in the poster.
There he is. He's so tiny. He's so squishy. I want to squeeze him. I want to die. Okay. All right. I just had my moment. I apologize. We're geeking out. But this is what this is all about. This is Fresh Geek Context in full effect right now. Okay.
Pretty much, yeah.
So what were some takeaways out of that besides Groot being very cute and Rocket Raccoon shooting big giant guns? I noticed, and I would like to hear your point of view on this. It appears to me that Drax the Destroyer feels a little bit more subdued. He seems more nurturing in this, which I really appreciate, because I know that he was really suffering in the first movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, because his wife and his child had been murdered at the hands of Ronan. So, you know, that catalyst at the end of the movie it was almost like taking out you know, a thorn out of his backside or under his foot. You know, he was able to kind of heal. And I kind of feel that when I was watching that moment when Drax and Star-Lord kind of have that awkward hugging moment. I laughed out loud. I loved it.
It was really good. I mean, I love that, and you know, I would love to see more of Drax, because I felt like when Dave Bautista was cast, everyone was just like groaning. They're like, "Oh, they cast a wrestler in this movie. Oh, he's gonna be a horrible actor." Blah blah blah. And then you watch the movie, and you're like, "Dude, Drax is hilarious. He's like one of the best characters. Like, you know, he stands on his own with the rest of the cast."
Absolutely.
And it was very, very amazing surprise that he did that great. So one of the things I'm looking forward to the most is more stuff from Drax, from Dave Bautista as Drax, because he did so great in the first one, and the second one he's already has this little awkward hug. Exactly. So I can't wait to see what more he brings out. So it's going to be a fun ride, I feel like.
I agree. Gamora was also in there. She seems like she's also equally kicking ass. I don't really know too much about that. Well, I mean, what other takeaways did you see while you were watching that?
I mean, there honestly really wasn't much. This is exactly what it's called, and it was a teaser, and they did not show a whole lot. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of very out of context clips put together, pretty much. So you have no idea what's going on. We saw nothing of Russell Crowe's character as Star-Lord's father.
Russell Crowe?
Yeah.
Russell Crowe or Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell. Oh, sorry, Kurt Russell.
That's
I always get those two confused.
I know. I was like, I like Russell Crowe, but it's Kurt Russell.
It's Kurt Russell.
I now, for those that don't know, I am a huge fan of Kurt Russell. I can watch Kurt Russell in anything. He can do no wrong. That man. Nah, man, Kurt Russell's the man.
He's the man. I apologize about that, guys.
Nah.
And then Sylvester Stallone, we saw nothing of him either, of course. We still don't even know who he's playing, actually. He's definitely been cast, but we have no idea who his character is.
No.
So I'm excited to see what that's about. And then, you know, we saw a little bit of Nebula in there. We saw a little bit of Yondu, which is really cool.
Yeah, so let's talk about, like, Nebula and Yondu for a second, because Nebula and Yondu both look badass. Like,
they look great. I like that Yondu has this mohawk now, which is pretty cool.
Well, I mean, he kind of reminds me of Gladiator, which I'm pretty sure we'll never see for reasons.
Yeah, it's fine.
But yeah, it's fine. But Nebula looks badass.
She does. And it was interesting to me that she's on the poster with the other Guardians. So I'm wondering if there's going to be kind of like a mutual team up there going on or something like that.
Maybe. You know, that rivalry, I can never say that word properly, that rivalry that occurs between Gamora and Nebula has always been something that I found intriguing, but I'd like to see where that grows, because, I mean, all of the characters that are in there essentially do some growing. Even Rocket. I mean, Rocket, you know, seemed to be the one that was kind of standing over Groot in many ways, but there was this partnership that was there. You saw his shield kind of come off in that moment where everyone thought that that Groot had kind of sacrificed his life, but, you know, then he starts nurturing for this plant, which happens to
Right.
be Groot Reborn. Now, I don't know. Is it going to be the same Groot or is it an offshoot? Because I know in the comics they mentioned that Groot is I don't know how I'm saying this if I am saying this correctly, but Groot might be a different Groot or like the offspring of the Groot that we come to know and love in the movie.
Right. I mean, I don't know how they're going to play that. That's one of the things I'm looking forward to. And I'm wondering if he's actually going to stay like a child throughout the entire movie, or if he's actually going to like grow little by little too. So that'd be interesting to see as well. I mean, I don't know. Either way, I feel like he's still going to be this lovable character that he was in the first one. So I'm just looking forward to seeing everything from that movie, and this teaser really has me very, very hyped for it. So
Me too. And still voiced by Vin Diesel.
still
no
voiced
less,
by
which-
Vin Diesel, so it's going to be baby Vin Diesel Groot, which is great.
Oh man, I can't wait. I can't. Whew. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Cannot wait. Can't wait for that soundtrack. Can't wait for the movie. Can't wait for that.
I was about to say, yeah, I cannot wait for that soundtrack either. Volume 2 soundtrack. I got Volume 1 on iTunes. Can't wait
So
for that
did I.
Volume 2.
Well, coincidentally, I actually had most of that soundtrack already. I just had to put it in a playlist and just purchase the extras, like songs as singles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was, oh man, and like that soundtrack actually did something that most people were never able to do, which was make a whole soundtrack around music and songs that wasn't original, but it became number one.
Right.
The person who was responsible for creating that playlist is paid and on vacation and living life wonderfully.
Oh, yeah. So very, very excited for Guardians. Let's keep it a little bit more Marvel as we move along, although not necessarily in the same Marvel Cinematic Universe. We did have the Logan trailer dropping, which is the third and final outing for our Mr. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine/Logan. And I want to hear your thoughts on this, because I know you and the X-Men universe over at Fox are not exactly the best of friends. As we've discussed multiple times. We're not going to get too deep into that today, but we'll get a glimpse of it. But what were your thoughts on the first, Logan trailer?
I swear, Josh, one of these days there will be an episode that will be dedicated to me just ranting and ranting and ranting about all the things that went terribly wrong inside X-Men and just in general.
I know there will be. You know what? We'll probably. You know what? How about this? We'll do that once Logan comes out, because then at that point we'll have a completed Wolverine trilogy as well as two other trilogies to talk about. So we have 3 trilogies of X-Men movies to talk about at that point.
True. I don't know if I can wait that long. Okay, maybe for everybody else, I will do it for them. But if everyone, I wish there was a video on the both of us, because you would see my shoulders have dropped significantly. I'm shaking my head because, the trailer. If I have to judge the trailer on its own, the trailer was amazing. I actually really enjoyed it because there was a level of depth that came with it, and it, needless to say, whenever you add Johnny Cash as a score for your trailer, I mean, I call it a trailer. We call it trailers all the time, but it really, if you think about it, it's its own complete project.
Definitely.
Because how many times have you and I, or anybody really who's listening, watched a trailer and got an immediate reaction, saying, "Oh my God, this feels amazing. This is wonderful. I can't wait to see it." They put out a second trailer. They put out a third trailer. They put out commercials, which is offshoots of those original trailers. And then you watch the movie, and you see this train wreck unfold, and
Right.
you wish you could just take back the last 6 months. But what I will say is that I did enjoy watching the Logan trailer. However, being without getting really too much into it, I've always really enjoyed reading the X-Men books and loved what X-Men kind of stood for and how they are just kind of fighting for equality in this world. That was something that I immediately understood, and their characters were so colorful and deep and driven, and they had
Right.
their own points of views, and the idealistic, Professor Xavier versus Magneto. I understood both points of view. You know, at times there were many times I sided with Xavier, who wanted to go the peaceful route of equality, and sometimes the more militant way of Magneto, because ultimately what he wanted was to live,
Right.
and the world that the Marvel comic universe, if you will, which actually also happens to be MCU, that can be very confusing.
Can be.
Anyway, the you know the world didn't really accept them as equals, where they were feared and they were considered and many times dangerous. So, it looks like there's going to be some finality to this. You really see it in the very first scenes where he's kind of shaking, and he's struggling to put on his shirt. Xavier, man, it was actually tough for me to watch that because I've always been a fan of Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart, I remember, watching on Star Trek.
Right.
And, I always watched him. I was like, man, he'd be pretty awesome as Professor Xavier. And I got my wish back, when they casted him back in the late 90s. And, I enjoyed those movies up until, I want to say, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. Who knows? But I did enjoy the trailer, Josh. I did. That Cable, I guess, kind of cheap knockoff Cable, look-alike, with the cybernetic hand that's struggling to put on his glasses. I thought he was cool. I liked how it kind of looked like this was the end for them, but they're still struggling to survive.
Sure.
And, his, I guess his daughter, it seems like it's going to be X-23. Who knows? I don't know where, what happens after all that. But I liked it. I won't knock the trailer because whoever pieced together that trailer did a fantastic job. That's my opinion.
Oh no, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, it's very. So here's the thing that I enjoyed the most about it. There weren't that many like action shots. If you watch it again, it's very character driven. It's very like, hey, you've been with this character for so long now. This is him kind of in his final journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, with the music and the shots that they did choose of, like you said, of him like struggling to put the shirt on, him with, with his shaky hands, with the scars on his back. It's like...
Which was strange to me. I thought that was weird.
What, the scars or...
Yeah, the scars.
I mean, think about it. If he's like actually getting old, like how old is Logan at this point? Like... He was born in 18-something, right?
Correct.
So he's well over 200 years old, maybe close to 3 at this point.
Okay.
So, I mean, as much as he has, like, we think that he's immortal pretty much, he's probably getting to that point where it's catching up to him now, and he's starting to show, all that fatigue.
Right.
So, I mean, being... rapidly healing, can only take you so far, I guess. But I mean, it's really, really cool. And then again, I didn't tell you this, but I recently watched X-Men 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And then I watched Origins, and then I watched Wolverine.
Man.
Yeah, I watched all of them this past week.
Okay.
After the trailer dropped. And then I watched all of them, and then I watched the trailer again. And then I'm just sitting here like, this dude has gone through a lot. Like, I didn't watch First Class or Days, obviously, but... Days of Future Past, sorry. And, you see this journey that not only Logan has gone through, but Hugh Jackman as well,
Of course.
And then you watch the trailer and you're just like, crap, this is the last time we're going to see Logan. This version of Logan, at least, probably.
Mm-hmm.
It's the last time you're going to see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, which is insane.
It is. So, as much as I knock, the X-Men movies now, he was instrumental in kind of moving the needle forward as to what comic book movies are today.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for him, and if it wasn't for the fact that he was so well received in the original X-Men back in what 2000,
2000, yeah.
that was a big deal. That was a humongous deal, to get an actor, who was at that time unknown. A lot of
Right.
people don't know that, but I mean, he literally
He was unknown when, yeah.
yeah, it became a world wide, household name at that time because of X-Men. And I just remember, Ain't It Cool News way back when. I don't know if you remember that website.
I do.
Ain't It Cool News. I was on that website all the time because I was on that for two reasons specifically. I didn't care about anything else. I was on it for Star Wars Episode 1, back in 1999 when they were making like the final arrangements and the trailer was about to drop. Ain't It Cool News was the place that you had to go. And, at that time, they were getting ready and they made the announcement that Fox said that, they were moving forward with the first live action X-Men movie. And I was like, oh man, this could be good, this could be bad. I wonder if it's going to be Blade, because Blade was really popular at that time as well.
Right.
But this is before Avengers. This is before Iron Man. This is before Spider-Man. This is before really anybody that had come out at this time. I mean, the big giants, the big juggernauts that were making, movies at that time were Batman and Superman, which hadn't really come out since like the late 80s, early 90s. So I was really excited for that. And I remember, and this is really getting back into nostalgia, the first person that was cast, and man, I remember this, without getting too much into it, I remember when they made the announcement that Ian McKellen was cast first as Magneto, and I said, this is weird. I'm not expecting that. I knew who he was. I knew he was a good actor. Now, but this is before Lord of the Rings had come out.
Right.
So at that point, I knew who he was, but everyone else was like, who the hell is this guy? He's going to play Magneto? This is going to be dumb stupid. You should have gotten... like, people had said that they wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger to play him, and I was just like, you shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Yeah, that would have been...
That would have been the worst.
Could you imagine him, that old dude, still playing Magneto up to this day? No. So then after that, the second person that was cast was Patrick Stewart as... And then as soon as they casted him as Professor Xavier, I was happy. And then, they started casting other people. And then they said, Hugh Jackman, who no one knew at that time. And, I was excited. And I watched that movie and I was like, that movie could have been terrible, but it was actually just good. It was just really, really good. X-Men 2 came out. That was amazing. Still to this day, it's still amazing.
To me, real quick, to me, X-Men 2 still has one of the best openings in a movie. I think for a lot of reasons, but I honestly love that opening when the White House with Nightcrawler. I felt like no other X-Men movie has come close to that opening.
And they never will. That movie, what that movie was able to do with that many characters in less than 2 hours was a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And then Bryan Singer had to screw it up because he had to ruin X-Men 3 and ruin Superman Returns. I digress. He didn't ruin Superman Returns. He abandoned X-Men 3 and he copied Superman 2 from the 80s. Because Superman Returns isn't a bad movie if you think that it's just the 80s movie redone over again. That movie...
Superman Returns is a love letter to the Superman Donner movies.
Yeah, that's what it is. So I can't knock on that movie, and I'm just like... And Bryan Singer, I loved as a director. Like, I remember watching Usual Suspects as a kid, or in high school, just watching that film, and I was just like, this is the best director ever. I watched Usual Suspects at Pupil, and so when they casted him they hired him as a director, I said, this is going to be the best movie ever. X-Men 1 really wasn't the best movie ever. Still isn't. But X-Men 2...
It did the job, yeah.
X-Men 2 was perfect.
I love X2.
Let's get back to Logan. Logan looks good. But I don't know. Like I said, I always watch these trailers. I get excited. I would give that trailer a solid 9, honestly.
I would agree with that for sure.
And I really wasn't a fan of the the Old Man Logan comics because I had stopped reading after the X-Men movie came out, because as much as I liked the X-Men movies, for the time it was coming out, the X-Men movies, in my opinion, this is only my opinion, destroyed the comic books. It was only after that, like the comic book storylines really started to decline terribly in quality, and just, I don't know, it just didn't seem fun to me anymore.
Sure.
But that was a terrible rant on my end. I'm gonna just keep moving forward.
You're good. Yeah. So but in the end, though, we are both looking forward to Logan. Logan does come out in March of 2017, so we still got a little bit of ways to wait for his final outing. But I'm sure it's going to be a really, really great one. Mm-hmm. Moving away from movies, though, can we please talk about the Switch now?
Yes, we can talk about Switch now.
Oh, yes.
Okay, let's get it all out. You talk about the trailer. Talk about the trailer. Go ahead.
Okay, so Nintendo announced their new console.
Yes.
Originally, it was rumored to be called the Nintendo NX.
Yes.
It has now officially been called the Nintendo Switch. And the reason for that is because you could be, hooking up your Nintendo Switch to your TV, be playing your game, whatever it is. And then, my good friend Jace, he'll be like, hey, do you want to, go to the park or go, to play basketball, which I don't play basketball. I'm just using that as an example. Or do whatever, And then I'll be like, all right, cool. And then I will actually take my console, or well, at least part of the console, put my two little controller pieces on top of it and take it out. And then now the game I was playing on my TV, I am playing on the go. And it's really cool because I'm switching from TV to a handheld game. And very clever naming. It's very, very cool. I really, really... The more I watch that trailer and the more I discuss it with like either you or some other friends of mine,
of course,
the more I'm excited and the more I kind of want it.
So, I watched that trailer and I almost had the same mannerisms watching Logan, and it was the same day that it came out, and I remember, calling you and like saying like, "Is this for real?" Because I had the same reaction to the Nintendo Switch trailer as I did for Logan, because and only because I've been lied to before by Nintendo. I remember, and Josh, you can remember all this along with me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yep. Go ahead.
The trailer for the Nintendo Wii way back in like 2006. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
That trailer, I was so excited. I was pumped. I was ready. I was like, man, this is the future. This is going to be, because they didn't have controllers then. They were just swinging their hands around, and people were like playing tennis and playing baseball, and they were using, bow and arrows, and they were. So for those that don't remember, we'll try and see if we can find the link for this trailer, and we'll put it on the description. But what essentially happens is you are the television, and you're watching all these people, go into the living room and play games. But there's no controller in their hands. So you just see them moving their hands around. And I just got excited because I had thought that this was actually going to be completely interactive gaming. Fast forward a couple of years, Xbox Kinect comes out, and that is truly hands-free gaming. The Nintendo Wii did not do that. No. And so they created this humongous, this avalanche, this tsunami, this tidal wave of mega nerd hype, and essentially capitalizes on the dreams and the wishes of every child growing from the 80s and the 90s. I'm pretty certain, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, Josh.
Yep.
Everybody in the planet owns a Nintendo Wii.
That is pretty accurate. I have gone to every single house in America and around the world. They each have a Wii inside their home, so I can confirm.
Everybody bought that damn Wii. I remember when that was released, the system was sold out for months, and I wasn't a kid, but I was a man child, if you will, and I remember calling GameStop. I remember calling Toys R Us. I remember calling Best Buy. I remember calling, I mean, whatever electronic store, that was, available at that time. I called everybody and it was, no, sorry, we're out. I called radio stations. I went for, and I signed up for, contests and tickets and raffles and all this stuff. All I wanted was a Wii. All I wanted was a Wii. And when I finally got the Wii, which was a painful experience, but nevertheless, I got it. I put it in. I played it for like a month and a half, and I was had, Josh. Ooh, man. Once I realized what it was, and that I really didn't have to engage my whole body, playing tennis, because everyone got that stupid Wii Sports thing. I'm thinking, this is, going to be active. It's going to be fun. I'm going to play with lasers and sword. Every game that came out for the Wii was, for the most part, garbage. Unless you were like the first party, Mario games. Those games were great. But everything else came out for it was awful, man. It was awful. And so now I'm watching the Nintendo Switch trailer, and I'm like, you've lied to me before, Nintendo. You lied to me before. And so the concept of the Nintendo Switch is awesome, but I need to see it in practice before I pass judgment.
And, I totally agree with you, because honestly, I was the same way with the Wii. Like, I spent, all this time trying to look for it, trying to get it, and then I finally got it, and I was like, it was actually, where was it? I think, do you remember when Virgin had their own store?
Oh my god!
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So it was actually a Virgin store that I went to, and I was just looking around, and I was like, oh, that's right, Mario Kart came out for Wii today. Too bad I don't have a Wii. Hey, you at the cash register. Do you guys got any Wiis in stock? They're like, oh yeah, we got a few of them. I'm like, give me a Nintendo Wii and a Mario Kart right now. So I finally found it, and then I took it home, played it, loved it, but then same thing. I was like, okay, this is fun. I got Mario Kart. Oh, you know what? Super Smash Brothers. This will keep me entertained with my Wii. Blah blah. All right. Yeah. There's nothing else, is there? Nope. Okay. Going back to my PS3, and so literally I'm looking at my Wii right now because I still have it set up just in case I ever feel like doing Super Smash Brothers or whatever. But it's in between my PS3 and my PS4 that are hooked up. And it just sits there. That's all it does. Just sits there. And I love the concept of the Switch, just like you. I love the concept of it. But deep down, I am very scared that the same exact thing is going to happen. That I'm going to, love this. I'm going to buy this console. I'm going to, get it for, whatever games. And then, they're not going to have that support. And then I'm just going to be left with another Nintendo console just hanging out there. That's one of the main reasons why I didn't get a Wii U. Because I was like, all right, you know what? You burned me with the Wii. I'm not going to really go for the Wii U. I gave that a pass. Friends of mine had it. I
didn't get it either. I'm totally with you. I didn't get the Wii U. I wanted to, but I was like, if they had made the Wii U for the Wii, it would have been game over.
Right, like that would have been a lot better. And then, watching this trailer again, going back to the Wii U a little bit, I felt like the Wii U is just like a huge beta product for this. God. And I'm super glad I didn't get the Wii U now at this point, because I was watching the trailer, and then after the trailer, I'm like, oh, that was really cool. That's kind of like what the Wii U... Oh.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Wii U was just a huge beta test.
And the Wii was this modified GameCube.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, deep down, I feel like I'm going to get burned. But at the same time, this is Nintendo. They know handheld gaming. Like, their handheld department is perfect. So, I'm hoping that since this is a handheld console hybrid... that they'll do a lot better with it. So
I'm hoping so. Yeah, I mean, it really surprises me. Before we go to break, because we actually have to go to break, it really surprises me that Nintendo and Apple has kind of struck a deal where they're allowing Mario onto the iOS platform.
Yeah.
Especially because, I mean, these two companies are so similar to me in many ways.
Oh, yes.
On how they want to control the entire process and the entire experience for players and end users alike. They, it's. I'd like to see where this goes, honestly, because they're both kings in their retrospective areas, if you will.
For sure. And, I'm very, very excited. I just need to see that price point, and if that price point is just right, yeah, I'm probably gonna grab one.
They need to make up for lost time.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the Wii U should have been the Wii.
I agree.
If they had done that, scale down like the graphics just a little bit, but it should have been HD because at that time, the PlayStation 3 was coming out, that was HD. Xbox 360 was coming out, that was HD, and then there was the Wii that was plugging into composite cables.
Sure.
Give me a break. That was awful.
It was pretty bad.
But I digress. We're going to go to a break, but before we do, it had occurred to us over at FGC Podcast, we want everything to be fresh and clean. So that being said, we have noticed that the music that we have for our break, while nice, is getting very stale. We don't want that. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be implementing new break music to keep things new, and we welcome your feedback. As we break, we're actually going to play a sample by Colton Shields called The Neon Beach. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. We'll see you after the break.
See ya.
Welcome back to the FGC Podcast. We are your beloved hosts, Jason Josh, in the third and last part of our Halloween special.
Thank goodness.
Do you know what time it is?
I think so. But what are we doing it on again?
You'll see.
I hate it when you do that.
In this episode of Learning Time, we talk about the history of scary movies.
The popular horror movie genre started in the year 1930, and it was primarily based on the spooky tales of what many now know as the classic monster series.
Many studios today have to negotiate with publishers to obtain the rights to make film adaptations. However, with Universal Studios, many popular stories like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein reverted back to public domain.
Public domain means the initial copyright holders that make the money on the sale of the book expired, which is why many of these books can be found for free on digital mediums.
Universal set forth an unprecedented move. They created an image of Frankenstein's monster that would stand the test of time even 80 years after its theatrical release. It was able to do this because Mary Shelley's book didn't specify what the monster actually looked like, so the readers filled it in with their imagination. It was Universal Studios that gave the signature flat top, protruding forehead, bolts on the neck, and scar on the forehead.
Universal Studios' classic monster series consisted of Dracula, Frankenstein, the Invisible Man, the Wolfman, and the Mummy.
At that time, seeing these classic monsters on screen was cause for celebration. Soon they started appearing together on screen and created their own versions of the original stories. This is very similar to how Marvel Studios creates movies today, where Robert Downey Jr. appears in Captain America's third movie in his trilogy. Universal Studios were the first ones to do this, and it garnered much positive attention and praise. Their movies were a hit, and it lasted for the better part of 2 decades.
After the Universal Monsters craze started to dissipate, other artists and storytellers took the reins and started to tell their own stories, or reimagining the new ones like the Alfred Hitchcock with Psycho and George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead. These new genres spawned multiple movies in a multi-million-dollar franchise.
In the 70s and 80s, the world saw the horror genre started to evolve with new methods of storytelling and technology. In the 80s, popular horror movies were Friday the 13th with Jason and Nightmare on Elm Street with Freddy.
It also had Child's Play with Chucky.
The premise of these stories were horrific villains showing up in places you would least suspect, in your child's toy box, or in your dreams. Stephen King's It.
Don't do it, please.
The 90s saw the Scream franchise rise to fame, which was similar to the whodunit subgenre, with a twist of explaining the horror film genre itself, as well as equipping the characters with video cameras and cell phones.
In the 2000s, many classics are remade, like Universal's Van Helsing, and the zombie genre gets a surge in popularity again with 28 Days Later. Newcomer Rob Zombie with The House of a Thousand Corpses makes his debut for the first time in this decade.
The button is consistently pushed with the Saw franchise, which told of a killer who would put people in traps to see if they survived, to the famous found footage series Paranormal Activity, which featured two people living in a house haunted by a demon.
The horror movie genre is alive and thriving even today in television with shows like The Walking Dead and American Horror Story, asking the silent question, what would you do if you were in this situation? Pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, pretty scary stuff indeed. Any of the movies that we talked about, any of them your favorite?
There's a few, like Walking Dead.
You sound so unsure about it, though.
I just want to talk about it.
Okay, let's try this then. Let's talk about some of our favorite scary movies first, and then we'll get into the review of the first episode of The Walking Dead.
Sweet.
But non-spoiler, though.
Oh, come on, really?
Yes. So no, we'll talk about the non-spoilers first, and then we'll talk about the spoilers afterward.
Jace, we have an hour. How are we doing this?
I'm so glad you asked this. To be mindful of the time that we have here, and the fact that this is a bi-weekly show, we'll talk about the non-spoilers, but after this episode posts on our website and on iTunes, a supplemental episode will post after talking about episode 1 and 2.
I like what you're putting down right now.
Right? Okay, so favorite scary movies, go.
Hocus Pocus. What?
Really? Scary movies, Josh.
Those witches are scary. Have you seen the Sanderson sisters? Alright, fine. Whatever. Nightmare Before Christmas.
That was a cute movie.
It's not a cute movie. Alright, maybe a little bit. But still.
I mean, I like really, really scary movies.
I mean, I don't actively seek out scary things, usually.
But you watched The Walking Dead, which is arguably worse than most movies out today.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Okay, all right. So I like the Paranormal Activity movies.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, well, the first one. The others got increasingly boring after that, so.
I mean, the first one was definitely different because I feel like that revitalized the whole, found footage type genre.
Which I'm not usually a fan of, but I felt like... So
it worked out.
Okay, so...
It worked out.
It did work out. And you remember back in the 90s, there was a movie by the name of Blair Witch Project.
Oh, that was a movie that scared me when I was a kid, for sure.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you that was totally ruined for me. And I'll tell you why. When that movie came out, I didn't, I guess I missed that whole train. So when that movie came out, everyone was trying to see if it was actually real, and there were all of these reports on news that had talked about this was actually faked. Everything that happened inside that movie was debunked. So by the time I saw it, I remember this specifically. I went to a friend's house in grade school, and I rented it with the friends, and I watched it on this really tiny television where the sound was barely inaudible. And we watched it, and then the ending was just very lackluster for me. So I didn't really respond well to that movie. But when Paranormal Activity came out, I'd seen the trailer, and I was instantly on board. I was writing that out before people had said oh yeah, this is just, kind of like the Blair Witch. So now I have a whole new appreciation for the Blair Witch Project movie when it came out, simply because I was able to, experience it the way you were supposed to experience it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the very reason, you said, people were trying to figure out, was it real, was it fake? When that movie came out,
Right.
what year did that come out? 1999, 98, around there.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think 98 probably.
Yeah, so I was like 8 years old when that thing came out, and then of course I'm looking at this thing, and then I see, oh, based on a true story, blah blah blah, and I'm like, this is real. I don't want to go there. And then
Yeah.
of course, my brother would watch the movie because he knew it was fake, obviously, but as an older brother does, he torments me. So he's like,
Of
yeah,
course.
this is real, blah blah blah, and I'm like, I don't want to see it, blah, and of course I watched it later as I was older, and I was like, really, I was scared of this crap, but.
That's how it works for most movies
Yeah.
with me. But let's talk about some of the classics. Let's talk because there were some things that we wanted to talk about in learning time that we didn't have a chance to put in, but we could talk about it
Sure.
here. Like Alfred Hitchcock, which completely revolutionized the subgenre within the horror movie category of suspense.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
Psycho, did you see that?
I did see Psycho.
And what did you think?
I thought it was psychedelic.
I see what you did
Yeah.
there.
I try to bring the puns whenever I can.
It's so hard though.
It's so hard. No, I enjoyed it a lot. It's been a bit since I've seen it, but from what years, but from what I remember of it, it did a very, very good job. I definitely saw it when I was older, not when I was a kid, so it didn't, it wasn't as, terrifying for a child.
Sure.
But I enjoyed it. I definitely, like what it brought to the table, after reading about it and things like that. So,
There's something to be said about how a movie kind of stays in your mind, and you probably don't realize this, but there are many times when you're watching a movie and there's a moment where the character, either man or woman, they'll turn around and there's this moment where they see something scary. They hear that trill in the background. That all comes from Psycho, which, I wanted to put it in learning time, but, we have a chance to discuss it here. You have to be really, really good at your craft in order to create something like that kind of indoctrinates itself into how people just react to movies and
Right.
kind of like these short comedy bits that pay homage to Psycho back in the time of I believe it came out in the 70s.
I want to say 70s, yeah.
Late 60s, early 70s.
Something like that.
Because I know that was in black and white, and that's when Technicolor started coming around and the advent of color. I mean, that was, it was more pop when you saw color. It was more popular in movies, but then in the 70s, that's when color started to really take a hold.
1960, according to imdb.com.
No, thank you so much for looking that up.
You're welcome.
So yeah, then so what are some other ones? Because I know like Psycho is the one that stands out to me.
I mean,
it's not my personal favorite. I prefer from Alfred Hitchcock, Strangers on a Train, because that's certain like the definition of cerebral.
Sure. I mean, I don't actively seek out scary movies. However, definitely movies like The Shining, Amityville Horror, Exorcist. Like I don't actively seek those movies, but I definitely know what those movies had influentially towards that genre. Like there's no if you're a film buff, if you're just a scary movie buff, whatever it is, those movies definitely also had a hand in creating the modern scary movie, I guess, horror film.
Sure. So I remember, I suppose out of all the ones that you had mentioned, like Exorcist it's good. I don't like. Are we talking about like what movies are scary to us, or what are just good movies that happen to fall in the genre of horror?
I mean, we can do both. I would primarily want to keep this between like what our favorite scary movies are, but I mean, we just have to mention these because, like I said, they are just so influential into the genre that they have to be mentioned pretty much.
Of course. So what about the Rocky Horror Picture Show? Did you ever see that?
So that is actually one of the classics that I have never seen, and I know
you're kidding me.
Yeah, I know it's a big deal. I to this day still have not seen it.
Okay. Wow. Maybe we should make a show where Josh reacts to Rocky Horror Picture Show because
we can make our own audio commentary.
Yes, that would be great. So I enjoy Rocky Horror Picture Show. I've seen it multiple times. I've never gone so much as to say like I'm gonna go to the live screening of Rocky Horror Picture Show where you kind of
Sure.
sing along. I saw it in a friend's basement, and everyone I knew of the movie. I knew that there was a very large cult following
Hmm.
from this movie, but I didn't know the words. I didn't really know the story. And then, my friend played it, and I started watching it, and I said, "Huh, this is the thing that everyone keeps talking about."
Right.
I don't really see the appeal until I think Tim Curry started stepping out in drag, and he's saying, "I'm a sweet transvestite," and I said, "Okay, now I get it. Like this is fun and enjoyable."
Sure.
And but I know many people who are humongous Rocky Horror, fans. They know all the words, they sing it all the time, and I'm like, I I can totally appreciate it. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites, but I definitely dig it for sure.
Sure. Sure.
But we always have to talk about sci-fi every single time.
Of course.
What about the science fiction thriller Alien?
So that movie is it's definitely science fiction, but you can make an argument for saying that that is a suspenseful horror movie pretty much.
Sure.
You can definitely make that argument. And that sci-fi horror genre, I guess,
Hmm.
um it's pretty incredible. Alien is definitely one of my favorites. For sure. If we can call that a scary movie, then yeah, that would definitely be up there.
I mean, I was petrified during that movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, because you feel suspense for the characters. You're just like, what is this thing? It's like a mystery, and then it's kind of like like Jaws, like Friday the 13th.
Oh
You
man, I forgot about Jaws.
Yeah. You don't see the alien or the killer until pretty much the end. So
True.
so I mean, it's that suspense. Like, what is it that's doing this to these people? Like, what kind of monster is this or person? Whatever. We don't know at the time.
So let me ask you this: do you remember the first time that you saw Alien? Like, was it recent? Was it like when you were a kid?
No, it was closer to when I was a kid. I must have been. Hmm. I must have been at least 10, 11, around there.
10, 11. Okay.
Roughly. Yeah.
The reason why I asked that is because I mean how I experience movies, is very unique to me, as I'm sure is very unique to you.
Sure.
I remember wanting to watch Alien because of Disney World. I used to go to Disney World all the time.
Sure.
I still kind of do every once in a while.
Are you gonna talk about the ride that was in what was it? It was in Epcot, right?
It was in an Epcot. It was at that time called MGM Studios, and
MGM, yes.
now I'm dating myself. But yes, it was called MGM Studios at the time. Now it's called Hollywood Studios, and
Yeah.
it was the Great Movie Ride, or I'm paraphrasing here. But in any case, it's a simple ride. It's not a roller coaster. You get in this big giant, car that's open, on the top, and you have a tour guide that kind of takes you through the tour of Hollywood, and the tour of Hollywood is a trip through the movies. And
True.
it's and listen, if you live under a rock and you never heard of anything Disney ever, it would seem like a corny ride. But for me, growing up, I've always enjoyed movies very much, so I've always held that ride, a special place in my heart.
Sure.
So one of the things that I never looked forward to as a kid was the segment in the section where they go into the Alien movie
Hmm.
because there was a section, and I'll never forget this because every single time I go on now, I always like I flinch and I'm like ready for it to happen. When you're going in the ride and you see Ridley, she's on the left hand side and she's holding the gun and she's like checking left or right over her shoulder.
Yeah.
There's a section like right like in the center of the hallway. There's a light, and it looks like there's like a hallway above you, like there's a chasm.
Sure.
I don't know if you remember this, but when I was a kid, I saw it multiple times, so I know this was a thing. But there was a segment in there where the alien kind of leaps down right over you. Now, as a kid, I'm like 4, 5 years old. When that alien jumps out at you, it had your full attention. So I was like, nope, don't like this. Get me out of here immediately.
Sure.
As I grew up, I knew to expect it. I was like, okay, there you are. And then later on, maybe the alien, part of that ride actually broke because maybe they just had to remove it, but it wasn't there anymore. And so I just remember saying to myself, I'm wondering if I remembered it correctly. And that's what got me to like go by and watch that movie. So that was my experience. Like I wanted to see Alien because I remember being petrified of it as a kid, that I wanted to see it. And then it was just, that movie is amazing. The Stromo and the whole concept of, the androids that are in it. And, it's a survival and no one can hear you scream in space. I'm like, oh my God, that's petrifying.
No, definitely for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, those are one of my favorites. I don't really know. Like, I really wasn't a fan of the Scream franchise. I thought it was really corny in the 90s.
So I actually like the Scream series. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I mean, if Scream is on, I will watch it. I generally enjoy Scream. I don't find it a horror movie though. I guess that's my eyes.
That's what I'm saying. I don't. It's like me saying my favorite fighting game is Super Smash Brothers. Super Smash Brothers is not a fighting game. I don't care what you say. It's too much fun.
That's
it's
fair.
not like, you know what I mean? It's not. It's like Mario Kart isn't a racing game. It will never be a racing game.
I don't know about that one. Super Smash, I can make an argument for. Mario Kart, I can't really say that, but I understand what you mean though, for sure.
Okay.
I definitely get it. But yeah. I mean, Scream isn't a horror film in itself. It's more, to me, it's more of a parody than anything.
It could be parodied, and obviously it was with the Wayans brothers. They did so scary movie so successfully. But I don't know if I consider it a parody. It paying an homage to the horror genre.
I guess homage, yeah, that'd be a better word because I would say homage is a better word.
Now, speaking of homage, did you ever see Joss Whedon's Cabin in the Woods?
So I saw parts of it. I never sat down and watched the whole thing.
Come on. That is, if you never watched another horror movie again in your life, and that was the last one, that would be it. Like, that is a perfect horror movie that pays homage to horror movies, but still is a horror movie. Like, he did it perfectly. Perfectly. You need to watch it. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. It's just, you need to watch it.
Sure.
It was clever. The storyline was wonderfully written. Chris Hemsworth is in it, so.
Oh, good. So I can see Thor. So that's cool.
Thor and Joss Whedon, like.
Thor and Joss. Well, yeah, true. Thor and Joss Whedon. It's like half an Avengers movie, right?
It's basically half an Avengers movie. So, but there's, I'm thinking about this, as I'm being mindful of the time, of course.
Sure.
I'm just realizing that there are so many different movies that exist within the horror genre that, I don't think we have time for all of it. We're
Definitely
always limited by time.
It could be its own hour-long podcast if it needed to be, honestly.
It certainly can. Did you see Evil Dead? You had to have seen Evil Dead.
Yeah, so you know what? A very good friend of ours, our friend Dan, for everyone who's listening, our friend Dan knew that I had never seen any of the Evil Dead series. This was right before the remake that came out. What was that, in 2013 now?
Yes. I actually remember that. Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Before the new one came out, he was like, listen, we're all gonna go watch the new one. Before you do this, though, we're gonna make you watch the originals. And I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. And yeah, he sat me down, and I watched 1, 2, and Army of Darkness.
Which, I have to say, Army of Darkness holds a very special place in my heart. Because that movie, for a long time, I saw Evil Dead, loved it, watched Evil Dead 2, and then Army of Darkness came out, which actually brings me to another point that I'm about to make. But I always avoided Army of Darkness because I was just like, what is this movie anymore?
Sure.
But it's still like it is part of the Evil Dead, I guess, folklore, but it's obviously their impressions of the movie that they want to make obviously changed.
Right, definitely.
Army of Darkness has the best fight sequence that I've seen in recent history. And you know the scene that I'm talking about.
Yeah,
You know
definitely.
the scene where Ash kind of comes into the room and the old lady gets possessed.
Yep.
And she's like, "I'm going to eat your souls," and she passes out.
Yeah.
And she wakes up and she comes like a kung fu soul witch ninja, and she's like whipping everybody around, killing everybody, and throwing hot water on people. The reason why that's my favorite scene, obviously, besides the fact that it's hilarious, is the camera work was actually some of the best things that I've ever seen. How they move that camera and the cinematography,
Yeah.
is amazing. You know what? I think I'm gonna put a link to that in this podcast description, so everybody
should,
that's
it's pretty
listening
great.
out there, it's so good. It's so like I as a film buff myself, I've gone in and like studied that film and like how do they do this in the early 90s? Like how are they accomplishing this?
Right.
You know, it's amazing. But I also forget Sam Raimi also did Darkman with Liam Neeson, which I don't know if you've seen that, but that is also one of my favorites.
That I have not seen.
Oh, it's so good. It's so man, so many movies that we need to catch up on, Josh.
I mean, like I said, I don't actively seek out scary movies, so.
But it's Liam
there's
Neeson.
a lot in that genre I have not seen.
That's true, but Liam Neeson is also a badass who wears, broken glass for gloves and he punches wolves in his spare time. He just does that.
I mean, that's what Liam Neeson does. That's his life,
That's his life.
It's the life of Liam Neeson.
He was Ra's al Ghul. He was a Jedi.
He played God
He played. When did he play God?
in Attack of the Titans. Yeah.
Oh yes, I do remember that.
He
Okay.
played Zeus.
He
which
played
is
Zeus.
practically God.
Yes. Okay. I'm thinking Morgan Freeman God. I'm like, when did he do that?
No, Morgan Freeman is his own special God.
He is
That's a different story.
He is a special man.
Yeah,
But yes. But there's one thing that we are forgetting in this whole topic of discussion with horror in general.
Well, what's that?
We're forgetting about the zombies.
Oh, you mean Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island?
Please stop talking. No,
That is an amazing movie.
Oh, stop it. Yeah, so you really don't like horror movies at all. Like you just avoid it like the plague.
I mean, like I said, I don't avoid them. I've watched every single Friday the 13th. I've watched every single Nightmare on Elm Street. I've watched almost all the Chucky movies except for... I think I didn't see Seed of Chucky, and then there was one that came out very recently that I haven't seen.
Okay. I didn't even bother with Seed of Chucky. I was just like, this is over for me.
Yeah, after I think it was 3, I was like, all right, this is a little bit too much.
Yeah.
So like those type of movies I've seen, obviously. Funny, quick little story about Nightmare on Elm Street, though. When I was, again, everything happened to me when I was a kid. That's why I don't do any of this stuff. We were at my aunt and uncle's house, and of course they have a basement downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And then where do my cousins want to hang out? Oh, they want to hang out in the basement. So, all right, let's go down to the basement. And in the basement, they had a TV. So naturally, we're like, all right, let's hang out in the basement. Let's watch a movie or whatever it is.
Got it.
Naturally, they put on Nightmare on Elm Street. I want to say it was 5.
Okay.
The 5th one. Because there's one scene in particular that I will never ever forget. And that's the scene when the girl is like dreaming about working out or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember this as I'm saying?
I think so.
She's like working out, and then all of a sudden like the weights that she's using are like coming down on her like way too strong.
Mm-hmm.
And then like her elbows bend in,
Oh,
and then like
yes,
things
I do
come
remember
out.
that. Yes.
Like she turns into a spider, and then he freaking steps on her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that scene, her transforming into the spider, I was just like, nope, can't do. And I ran upstairs.
So
I was like, I cannot do this.
I just remember. I just remember in high school, I set out on a mission to find out what was going to be a movie that scares me, and I never found one. Like there were movies that got close, like Quarantine. I remember that movie.
Right, you were saying that.
Was scary, but only scary because of the situational things that was happening in the news at that time.
Right.
But before I get into the zombie genre, do you remember just recently there was something that came out um, called Lights Out? It's actually on iTunes right
I've
now.
heard about that. Yeah.
I'm gonna put a description in the a link for in the description. That was a movie that was actually based on a short film. I believe it came out about 2 years ago. And not for nothing, this movie, like this little short film, in the 2 minutes and like 42 seconds that it was there for, it had me. It really had me. And it's a simple premise, because I mean, you could pause this, guys, for everyone that's listening. You could pause this, jump to the description, click on the link. You could see it on YouTube. I believe it has like 3.5 million views, because it
A lot.
yeah, it's a lot. And like, I know a lot of people that watched it and they were like, yep, this is petrifying. There's a woman, it's a simple premise is, you're getting ready to go to bed, you got work in the morning, and you're in your apartment or you're in your house, and you go around the house, you're cleaning up, and you start turning lights off. And this woman, she oh, I'm just laughing now because I was just like, because I did a double take because I didn't even realize what happened. But the woman puts the lights off and she looks in the hallway and there is a person standing in the doorway. And I'm like, and I'm getting chills just talking about it because the way they filmed it and the way they executed the shot was perfect. So she looks again, she puts the lights on so she can see who it is, and the image of the person disappears.
Right.
But when she flips the switch again, the image is there. So, she does what anybody would do. You would flip the lights back on, and like, am I seeing things? Am I seeing what I think or I perceive to be seeing? And then all of a sudden she flips it on the last time, and the figure is like right next to her. And I'm like, nope, pause, get out. So,
See, that sounds like something that I would do when I was a kid. Like if you needed to go to like the bathroom or whatever it was, and you needed to get through a hallway,
Yeah.
and it was dark as hell.
Yep.
But you knew where the light switch was, you would run, turn on the switch, and be like, all right, is anybody here? No, we're good? Okay. And then you would kind of do the same thing back. You would run, turn off the switch, and just jump in your room.
Like that was really going to save you. But
exactly. Listen, I thought it would save me.
I thought it would.
That's all that matters.
I mean, you do strange things when you're kids. But I just recently went to a haunted trail where I am. And it was fun. They had people running out and scaring you in costumes, and you don't really know which ones are real people versus like props. And sure. They take you in the dark, and they're leading you with a rope. It was fun. There was one part I remember where somebody popped out in front of me, and I'm like, damn it. But for the most part, it is fun. Like, I do enjoy these things, but you should definitely check out. Like, I think I'm gonna rent it tonight. Like Lights Out. That looks like fun. Hush is another movie that's out currently on Netflix. I watched that, which features a deaf woman who is being stalked by a killer, and she's deaf. Like, she can't hear anything.
That is horrible.
I know, but it's so good. It is very enjoyable at the end. Like, I challenge you to watch it because there's a lot of life lessons to know about. Like, when you're watching, like, what do you do if you can't hear anything? I want to know.
I would actually feel bad watching that for some reason. I'd be like, oh no, don't pick on her. That's not fair.
No, trust me, you need to watch it. You need to. And everybody that's out there, every single recommendation will put a description in there and different places that you can find it. But Hush is really good. Lights Out, I'm anticipating. I actually am watching Witches right now, which is disturbing. A very, very disturbing movie. I don't know if that's my favorite, but it definitely has my attention as well. But getting back to what got us all in this area was, zombies.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
No, I'm talking about 28 Days Later. 28 Days Later.
Oh, sure, that too.
That was also a wonderfully shot movie. And, that scene in the beginning where, you see Cillian Murphy kind of wake up in this post-apocalyptic, meltdown. And he's completely isolated. That was awesome. Had my attention from the start. Man, people know how to make really good movies.
That's another one I haven't seen. I've definitely seen the trailers for it, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to see that. But
You've never
again,
seen
another
28
one.
Days Later?
I have not.
Oh, man. See, you get on me for the TV shows I haven't watched. You have some movies to catch up on, my friend.
Yeah, but they're all scary movies, and what have I been saying this entire time about scary movies?
Okay.
At least we both like the comic book genre.
This is true. This is true. And again, I don't actively seek out, scary movies as well. But, you do get a laugh out of them.
No, you do.
No.
They're especially the older ones. Like, if you watch the original Friday the 13th now, you're just like, oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I get where you're coming from. But, I mean, when it comes to zombies, besides, once again, mentioning the masterpiece that is Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, I also watch zombies on a nice little television show that we both watch, so we can talk about that if you'd like.
Oh, yes, I know. You've been dying to talk about this.
Yes.
I'd say October 23rd, The Walking Dead premiered on AMC.
Yep.
And it was...
I mean, it was stressful.
It was...
Gut-wrenching.
It was...
Horrifying.
It was...
Please tell me you're agreeing with me, because you're not really saying anything, you just keep saying it was.
No, you're taking the words out of my mouth, Josh.
Oh, alright, good. I mean, same page and all. Good.
Okay, so let's, again, as we said before, non-spoiler review.
I mean, really? This is hard to do.
It is hard to do. Yeah, let's try it. Let's try it out. This is the first time for everyone that's listening, this is the first time that we've ever done a non-spoiler review, so bear with us. Thoughts?
So, yes. Oh my god, yeah. It was an amazing, amazing episode. It was a great way to open it up after being left with a cliffhanger for how long was that? Like 5-6 months almost?
Agonizing months. So, I didn't tell you this, but I actually binge-watched season 2 all the way to season 6. Is that what ended? Yeah.
Wow.
I watched all the way through. Like, I finished season 5, and I was like, oh man, I need to catch up because now I'm on like season 6, and this was like the beginning of, the year, 2016.
Sure.
So, I went to iTunes and I had somebody that, had bought the episode, so I was watching it with them. And then I was able to go to the AMC app and I was able to watch the last 4 episodes. And then I finished it. And then I was like, I finished that Saturday. And that next Sunday was the final episode of episode 6. And Negan came in. I was just like, oh man, this is coming out to be just like another TV show. What are you going to do? And they didn't show me anything. They didn't show me jack.
Nope.
So here we are now, episode 1 of season 7. And I thought it was damn good.
Listen, it was amazing. They teased, what happened perfectly throughout the episode, just keeping you like, oh, come on, like what happened? Come on, tell me. And you were just stressed. Like I don't know how you watched it, but the way that I watched it, and I've been watching for like the past 3 seasons now. A group of friends and I, we get together at somebody's house. We make food, we order pizza, whatever it is, and we all sit around the couch and we watch the episode together.
Yeah.
So seeing the reactions from my friends, watching this episode with me, like I'm just sitting there like, holy crap.
Yep.
I'm watching their faces and they're just like, insane.
Mm-hmm.
It was just incredible to watch. What did you think of it?
I remember watching that because I had to go to a friend's house because for those that don't know, I don't have cable. So, it's either watch it live with a friend or wait an hour or 2 to have it post on the website or the app, and then you could watch it that way. But I could not physically wait. So, I enjoyed the episode. I started to understand the stress that many Walking Dead fans feel when they're watching an episode. Because for me, like I said, I've spent a majority of the show watching it, binge watching. So I could break whenever I want. I don't understand what a cliffhanger is because
in this show sense.
In the show sense, I don't understand what a cliffhanger is. It's like, imagine you're watching Lost now. If I were talking to, somebody who's watching this podcast and I say, hey, did you ever watch Lost? And they say no. I watched every single episode on television. I had to wait for months to figure out what a mystery meant. And sometimes it didn't even get clarified, for somebody to watch it now, they could watch episode 1 through season 2, episode 5, stop, go out, have a bite, pick up where they left off. It seems like a movie. For me, this was the first time where I was like, oh man, these commercials are driving me insane.
Right.
But I made a prediction. Okay, I was right in my prediction. I'm not going to say who it was because that's going to be for the spoiler.
Definitely.
But there were moments, needless to say, where my mouth dropped and I said, oh my goodness, I cannot believe what I'm experiencing, what I'm witnessing. This is terrible. This is wrong. Negan, ladies and gentlemen who are listening to this podcast, is a bad man. This is arguably the most evil person that I've seen on television.
And what's funny to me is that if you think about it, he's not really evil in a sense.
Oh, no, he is.
No. Hear me out. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second because essentially, he has his men who you saw season 6. So he has his men that are, taking things from this other village and things like that. But then think about it this way. You and me, we're taking stuff from somebody, right? Or, we have somebody working for us. Then you have this random person come in and just kill 2 of our guys. And then they go and kill more of our people. And it's like, dude, can you stop killing our guys, please? Or we're going to intervene here. And then that's what he does. They kill enough people, enough of Negan's men. And he's like, all right, this is a little bit too much now at this point. I was willing to let that person go. These people, all right, we're starting to get a little bit low here. I need to step in.
So here's where I disagree with you on that. And this is I've studied literature and the art of storytelling, because when you're watching these movies, you may not know what goes into the process of what makes a movie. But when you're watching a movie like Jurassic Park, when you're watching a movie like E.T., Avengers, Star Wars, I mean, there is a lot of work that goes into playing, or there's a lot of work that goes into constructing a story. And if you do it well and you hit all the markers, your story will be good. It will be successful. People will talk about it, right? And so, and it's a universal. There is a person by the name of, I think his name is Joseph Campbell.
Okay.
And he talks about how, in the lore of Star Wars, it's nothing really that you've seen new. There is a character, he's the hero. He starts off on a journey, and there's a catalyst for that change. In this instance, it was Luke Skywalker. He lost people, and in this instance, it was his aunt and uncle. It sets him off on this journey. He kind of joins, a team that are willing to join him. There's this breaking point. At this point, they pick up the princess, and the princess loses her entire planet. Right. And it keeps going through these markers. Those markers are the same for virtually every story.
Sure.
If you don't do these things in a story, your story isn't good. So you can experiment with these things, but there is another story that I read when I was in high school and consequently in college. And the story is called Paradise Lost. And essentially, it's basically talking about the story of Genesis in the Bible. And you're understanding the same story that you're familiar with. But it's in the point of view of Lucifer.
Okay.
And you start with him. And that concept kind of makes him the hero. Now, for many people, that makes people very uncomfortable because you're like, why would I be rooting for this character who I know is evil? That's kind of what happens for me when I'm watching The Walking Dead. When I'm watching The Walking Dead, like, yeah, I get what you're saying with Negan, like, hey, you killed a lot of our men, but the fact of the matter is that when you're watching the story, you're looking at Glenn, you're looking at Maggie, you're looking at Rick, and you're seeing all of the things that they go through, and they have to keep themselves safe.
Well, yeah.
Which kind of plays into this fundamental argument of, you care for your own.
Correct.
These guys are a family. And there are people that have been able to integrate into this. You see this through the seasons where people were able to integrate into their family. So, yeah, I see what you're saying with Negan, but I still consider him a villain. And that's just my personal opinion.
Right.
And bad villain.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, oh, you shouldn't consider him a villain. He's a good guy, blah, blah. No. Don't get me wrong. By no means. I want this dude dead now after what happened this episode. Don't get me wrong. I want him destroyed. But, I mean, you can kind of see where he's coming from almost,
I'd say, and now I'm gonna get back into just making more of these comparisons. I'd say, if you were watching Daredevil, the Netflix original series,
sure,
Wilson Fisk is arguably one of my favorite villains in Marvel Cinematic Universe history.
I would agree to that for sure.
That's also including Loki, which I love Loki. Yep. I love Loki, but Wilson Fisk, totally bad. I understand where he's coming from, totally.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And at times I'm rooting for him, but he is the bad guy. There is no.
There's no.
I get
doubt.
what you're saying. Yeah, Negan. I get what you're saying, but no, you know what I mean. Like he needs to be put down immediately.
Oh no!
And this is gonna be so hard because I want there are things that happened in that episode where he just methodically just went in and I can't. Man, this is so hard.
It's very hard, but I mean, but just literally there are scenes. This part we can talk about a little bit because this actually came out before the episode, so you were able to watch it. It's a trailer. The trailer is literally the first 3 minutes of the episode.
Yes.
And it's literally just Rick and Negan just staring at each other. A little bit of dialogue here and there. But that's mostly what it is. It's just the two of them just looking at each other after what just happened.
Sizing it up.
And it's just like, it's literally two people looking at each other, but it's freaking intense. And then people wonder, kind of taking a little bit anime-ish, wink, wink. You look at a show like Dragon Ball Z when, two characters are just staring at each other. And, you kind of dismiss that because it's a cartoon. You kind of understand it, but you're like, it's whatever. It's a cartoon. It's just literally two people looking at each other.
Yeah.
But then when you see that, like, it's two people looking at each other on The Walking Dead, you're just like, I am having so much anxiety. I am having so much of this. What is happening? And again, no dialogue. It's just Rick looking at Negan and Negan looking back. And it is just the most stressful thing that you will watch.
I'm agreeing with you there.
But man, I mean, there's so many things I want to talk about. But like, how do people do this without slipping up all the time? It's insane.
It's a skill, I am sure. But this is what the supplemental episode is for. Fresh Geek Context episode 5.5 will feature the spoiler review of The Walking Dead episode 1 and 2.
But we have a little bit of an announcement. For you listeners out there, we stated we are doing a bi-weekly podcast here, and if you've been checking on the website, you can see that a bi-weekly show is a little bit tough to do.
It's hard out here for a geek. It's just so overwhelming with the news that just drops from Geek Heaven.
Oh, yeah, for sure, indeed. But as you guys know out there, November 4th is the premiere of Marvel's Doctor Strange. And if you haven't been following us, we're going on about this for about weeks now at this point.
Months. That's right. We cannot stop talking about this, as implied in the intro statement that I say for every episode. Anticipating this release. So we're not going to make you wait a whole week for our review.
Right. So Jason and I discussed it, and
yeah, we're going to post episode 6 on Monday, November 7th, the week after the Doctor Strange releases, for our special Fresh Geek Context movie review with the exceptional Alex Gurzo from geeksgamers.com, appearing here with us as our next guest.
It's going to be loads of fun. I can't wait. I mean, the movie review / discussion of Doctor Strange, as well as the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far, is pretty much what we're going to cover in that episode.
And then episode 9 will post Monday, November 17th, with another amazing guest for tea on the topic of
anime.
This is exciting for the both of us. We want to thank you for those who are out there listening to us geek out.
And consequently geeking out with us.
And that's all we have for this episode, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll tell you what, if you like what we had to say, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at Jace Rockland. And Josh?
I am at JCA90. And you can also find us at FGC Podcast or email us at freshgeekcontext@gmail.com.
You can also visit our website at freshgeekcontext.com for past episodes. And lastly, if you could, please hit that subscribe button for us on iTunes. It goes a long way for us to know that you're listening. You can also go to the podcast section or the podcast app on your iPhone or iPad and share with your friends so they can be Fresh Geeks too. Happy Halloween, everybody. Thanks so much.
Happy scaring. Careful with eating those Kit Kats, because I'm going to eat them all myself.